The grand old clock in the hall of the Miller family home had just wheezed its way to 11 p.m. when the screaming began. It wasn't a scream of terror, mind you. It was a specific, piercing, heart-stopping shriek of pure, unadulterated outrage. It was the sound of a universe, a very small and meticulously curated one, being thrown into chaos. Leo Miller, the family patriarch, was halfway through a particularly fascinating article about the migratory patterns of the North Atlantic puffin. He jolted so violently his reading glasses performed a perfect somersault off his nose and into his cup of chamomile tea. "Good heavens!" he exclaimed, fishing for his spectacles. "Is the house on fire? Has someone finally tried to cook after midnight?" His wife, Bella, was dozing on the opposite sofa, a romance novel tented on her chest. She shot upright, her magnificent gray curls quivering like agitated springs. "The soufflé!" she cried, her dreams evidently culinary. Then she blinked. Wait, no, that was Tuesday. That was a disaster. What is it now? The scream came again, this time followed by a torrent of frantic, stomping footsteps down the grand staircase. "He's gone! Vanished! Abducted! Poof!" The library doors flew open, and in stormed their daughter, Maya. At 28, Maya was a whirlwind of artisanal yarn and righteous indignation. Her face was the color of a boiled beetroot, and she was clutching a small, velvet-lined and decidedly empty wooden box, as if it were a holy relic. "Maya, darling, take a breath," Bella said, rising and adopting her calm in a crisis voice, a tone she'd perfected after 40 years of marriage to Leo and motherhood to Maya and her brother Sam. "Who is gone? Did that no-good boyfriend of yours finally see sense and flee the country?" "Not Derek," Maya wailed, thrusting the box towards them. "It's Sir Reginald! He's been stolen!" A profound silence descended upon the library, broken only by the drip-drip of Leo's glasses into his tea. Sir Reginald was not a person. He was, arguably, the third most important member of the Miller family. He was a garden gnome. But not just any garden gnome. He was a foot-tall, garishly painted ceramic masterpiece of kitsch, with a bright blue pointy hat, a lurid green jacket, and a fishing rod perpetually poised over a non-existent pond. He was also, according to Great Aunt Enid's will, worth approximately 97,000 pounds. He wasn't valuable because he was old or made by a famous gnome maker. He was valuable because Great Aunt Enid, a woman of formidable eccentricity and staggering wealth, had hidden the code to her Swiss safety deposit box inside him. The code, written on a tiny scroll of parchment, was the key to a fortune meant to be split between Leo, Bella, Maya, and Sam. The will stated clearly, the family must agree unanimously on how to spend the money, and they must do it in the physical presence of Sir Reginald. Without the gnome, the money was as inaccessible as the dark side of the moon. And Sir Reginald lived in a climate-controlled, locked display case in Maya's art studio because she had the purest soul and would never be tempted by material wealth. A decision the rest of the family now regretted deeply. "Stolen?" Leo finally managed, placing his soggy glasses on a side table. "Don't be absurd, Maya. Who on earth would steal that hideous thing? Perhaps he finally got tired of your interpretive knitting projects and went for a walk." "Dad, this is serious. The lock is picked, see?" She pointed to the small brass lock on the box, which did indeed look slightly mangled. "This is a catastrophe. A heist. We've been gnome-napped." The front door slammed shut. "All right, who died?" a cheerful voice called out. Sam, their 25-year-old son, wandered into the library. He was dressed in what he called entrepreneurial casual, a hoodie with a company logo that had yet to actually exist, and jeans that looked pre-distressed by a team of highly paid designers. He was perpetually on the verge of launching the next big thing, which was currently, he claimed, an app that would use blockchain to help you find your lost keys. I heard the screaming from the driveway. Did Maya finally set fire to another sweater? "Someone has stolen Sir Reginald," Bella said, her voice tight. Sam's smirk vanished. His eyes widened, and for a fleeting second, Leo saw something flash in them that wasn't surprise. It looked more like panic, but it was gone, in an instant, replaced by theatrical dismay. "What? No way. The gnome? But that's our future. My startup capital. Our collective future." He ran a hand through his artfully messy hair. "Who would do such a thing?" "That," Leo said, standing up and adopting a pose he thought made him look like a detective from a noir film, but which actually made him look like a man with a bad back, "is the question." And so, the Miller family's great gnome investigation began, not in a police station, but surrounded by bookshelves and the faint smell of chamomile. "Right," Leo announced. "Suspects. We need suspects. Who knew about Sir Reginald's financial interior?" "Everyone, Dad," Maya said miserably. sinking into an armchair. You told Uncle Jerry at the Christmas party after 3 sherries. Mom told her entire book club. Sam probably tried to use him as collateral for a loan. I did not, Sam protested. I merely mentioned him as a significant asset to a potential investor. For the app, the key-finding app, which would be very useful right now, by the way. Bella's eyes narrowed. She was the true strategist of the family. We need to be logical. The list of people who knew is endless. But the list of people who could actually break in, pick a lock, and do it without any of us noticing is much shorter. We were all home. A heavy silence fell. They all looked at each other. The unthinkable hovered in the air. Could it have been one of them? Don't be ridiculous, Leo boomed, shattering the tension. No Miller would do such a thing. It must have been an outsider, a professional gnome thief, a gnome napper, Maya whispered, horrified. Precisely, Leo said. Now, who do we know with criminal tendencies? Derek, Maya said immediately, her face darkening. He was here earlier. He said my macrame plant hangers were aggressively bohemian. He has a black heart, and he knows about Sir Reginald. I told him when I thought he was the one. Derek was Maya's latest beau, a man so intensely into mindfulness that he could tell you the existential crisis of a single raisin before he ate it. Leo found him insufferable. A lead? Leo declared. Sam, you're on tech. Get his address from Maya's phone. Bella, you're the charmer. You can distract him. Maya, you're the muscle. Maya held up a hand weighed down by multiple knitted fingerless gloves. I'm pacifist muscle. I'll be the brawn, Sam said, flexing a bicep that was not particularly impressive. And the brains. Mostly the brains. And so, the Miller family piled into Leo's slightly rusty Volvo estate, a vehicle that smelled of old dog and regret, and embarked on their first suspect interrogation. Derek lived in a minimalist apartment that was so devoid of clutter it felt mildly accusatory. He answered the door in a linen jumpsuit, holding a single, perfectly smooth crystal. Maya, he said, his voice a calm monotone. I sensed a disturbance in your aura. It's very spiky. He looked past her at her family, who were attempting to look casual and failing spectacularly. Leo was trying to peer around Derek into the apartment. Bella was smiling so widely her face looked stuck, and Sam was pretending to check his non-existent app for hostile vibes. Derek, Maya said, her voice trembling with forced calm. Sir Reginald is missing. Derek's eyebrows raised a millimeter. The ceramic homunculus, the one that clashes so violently with your energy? Perhaps it chose to liberate itself. Objects have souls too, you know. It didn't walk away, Derek, Maya snapped, her pacifism wavering. It was stolen, and you were the last one to see him. I was merely acknowledging its negative presence, Derek said serenely. I would never disrupt its journey. Besides, he added, holding up the crystal, I was engaged in a full moon meditation cleanse from 9 p.m. onwards. My quartz is my alibi. They left empty-handed, the sound of Derek's wind chimes mocking them. Well, he's definitely guilty, Sam announced as they clunked back into the Volvo. No one that calm is innocent. It's unnatural. He did seem very focused on his crystal, Bella mused. But he's right. It's not exactly hard evidence. Their next suspect was Uncle Jerry, Leo's younger brother. Jerry was a man of boundless enthusiasm and zero follow-through. His house was a museum of half-finished projects. A vintage car in the driveway that was more rust than metal. A shed full of woodworking tools surrounding a single, very wobbly stool. Jerry answered the door, covered in what appeared to be gold leaf. Leo, Bella, troops, what a wonderful surprise. Come in, come in. Mind the wet varnish, and the glitter, and oh, never mind that. His living room was a bomb site of craft supplies. What brings you by? You finally decided to invest in my revolutionary edible wallpaper? It's a game changer for snackers. Jerry, Leo said, stepping carefully over a pot of glue. Sir Reginald has been stolen. Jerry's face fell. The money gnome? Good grief. That's terrible. When? Tonight. Between 9 and 11, Bella said, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. They landed on a large, lumpy object covered by a sheet in the corner. What's that, Jerry? Oh, that? Jerry said a little too quickly. That's just a new sculpture. Very avant-garde. You wouldn't like it. Sam, ever the opportunist, made a dive for the sheet and yanked it off. Underneath was not a gnome. It was a life-sized papier-mâché statue of a chicken wearing a sombrero. They all stared. It's a statement, Jerry said, deflating, about poultry and globalism. Jerry, where were you tonight? Leo asked, trying to ignore the chicken's judging, painted eyes. Me? Oh, right here, working on this. He gestured vaguely at the chicken. All night. Ask the neighbors. The mariachi music might have been a bit loud. Sorry about that. Dejected, the Millers retreated. Jerry, for all his faults, was a terrible liar. If he'd stolen the gnome, he'd have been waving it in their faces, convinced it was the start of a brilliant new business venture. Rent a gnome. Security and style. The night was wearing on. The Volvo felt like a mobile room of disappointment. This is hopeless, Maya moaned. He's gone forever. We'll never get the money. I'll have to sell my hand-spun nettle fiber yarn on the street. Don't give up, Sam said, though he looked pale. We have to think. Who else? What about Mrs. Crabapple? Mrs. Crabapple was their next-door neighbor, a woman of formidable age and even more formidable suspicion. She believed the Millers were running an international smuggling ring, mostly due to the irregular packages of exotic wool Maya received. They found her in her pristine garden, peering over the fence through a large pair of binoculars. I saw you, she announced before they could even speak. Sneaking about at all hours, piling into that vehicle. I've written down the license plate and the time. It's all going in my file. Mrs. Crabapple, Bella said, turning on her legendary charm. We've had a little theft. Our garden gnome was stolen. You didn't see anyone suspicious, did you? Mrs. Crabapple's eyes gleamed. Suspicious? Everyone is suspicious. The postman wears odd socks, a classic diversion tactic. The milkman whistles a known signal for accomplices. But a gnome, you say? She lowered her voice. I saw a shadowy figure, lurking by your rhododendrons at approximately 2200 hours. They all leaned in. Really? Leo asked. Oh yes, she said, nodding grimly. Slinky it was, wearing a dark cloak, carrying a large sack, had a distinct limp, and a eye patch probably. An eye patch? Sam repeated skeptically. You can't be too careful, Mrs. Crabapple sniffed. It's all in my report. Page 43, subsection B, gnome, related activities. They thanked her and retreated, none the wiser. Back in their own garden, under the dim yellow light of the porch lamp, the mood was funereal. Their investigation had led them nowhere but to a mindful crystal wielder, a glitter-covered chicken artist, and a neighbor who believed in pirate gnome nappers. We're never going to find him, Maya said, her voice thick with tears. It's over. No, it's not, a new voice said. They all turned. Standing in the doorway was Chloe, Sam's girlfriend. She was holding a tablet and wearing an expression of intense focus. Chloe was practical, clever, and the only person who could actually make Sam finish a sentence. She was also, conveniently, a cybersecurity expert. Chloe, Sam said, looking startled. What are you doing here? You texted me in a panic about a code red asset relocation situation, she said, not looking up from her tablet. I assumed you'd finally burned down the shed with your crypto mining rig. But then I heard the yelling, so I did what any sane person would do. I accessed your home security camera footage. The Millers stared at her dumbfounded. We have security cameras? Leo asked. You have a doorbell camera, Leo, Chloe said patiently. You bought it to deter porch pirate ne'er-do-wells. You complained for a week about the installation. Recognition dawned on Leo's face. Oh, that thing. I thought it was a newfangled doorbell for playing different chimes. Lucicht. Anyway, the doorbell camera's motion sensor was triggered at 9:47 p.m. It doesn't point at Maya's studio window, but it does point at the side path. And it caught something. Look. She turned the tablet around. The black and white footage was grainy but clear. It showed a figure, dressed in dark clothes, hurrying down the side of the house away from the street. The person was carrying something small and lumpy under his arm. The figure had his head down, but as he passed under the motion-sensitive light, he glanced up, startled. It was Sam. The family gasped in unison. Maya's jaw dropped. Leo's face purpled. Bella put a hand to her heart. Sam! Leo roared. You? You stole Sir Reginald? Your own family's future? You... Gnome! Sam backed away, his hands in the air. Wait, it's not what it looks like. I can explain. You'd better explain very quickly, Bella said, her voice dangerously quiet. Before I forget, I'm your mother. It was for safekeeping, Sam blurted out. I was protecting him. Protecting him from what? Maya cried. From having a peaceful life in his display case? From Derek, Sam said, his words tumbling out in a frantic rush. I overheard him talking on his phone yesterday in the garden. He wasn't talking about mindfulness. He was talking about liquidating the asset and neutralizing the ceramic variable. I think he's a con man. I think he was going to steal Sir Reginald and disappear. So I staged a preemptive gnome napping. The family was stunned into silence. You, what? Leo said, his anger deflating into confusion. I picked the lock. I learned how on YouTube for my escape room app idea, and I took him. I was going to hide him somewhere safe, and then reveal everything once Derek was exposed. I hid him in the one place I knew no one would ever look. Where? Maya demanded. Sam looked sheepish. In the laundry basket, under your organic hemp-based delicates. Maya stared at him for a long second. Then her face broke into a relieved, tearful smile. You idiot! She shrieked. But this time, it was a shriek of relief. She launched herself at him and hugged him tightly. You wonderful, stupid, brilliant idiot. A wave of relief washed over the family. Leo clapped Sam on the back so hard he stumbled. Bella pulled both her children into a fierce hug. So Derek is the real villain, Leo proclaimed. I knew it. I knew there was something shifty about a man who could sit that still. But we have no proof, Chloe interjected, ever the voice of reason. The footage just shows Sam. It's his word against Derek's. And Derek seems like the type to have a very good, very calm lawyer. Sam's face fell. Oh, right. Not necessarily, Bella said, a slow, sly smile spreading across her face. I have an idea. It's time for a little performance. The next evening, the Miller family assembled in their living room, putting on the performance of their lives. Maya called Derek, her voice trembling with fake despair. Derek, it's awful. The most terrible thing has happened. The police. They've arrested Sam. They found his fingerprints on the display case. He's going to jail. My own brother. But that means Sir Reginald is still out there somewhere. The police are searching his room, his car, but they haven't found him yet. The money is still missing. She listened, then put her hand over the phone. He's buying it, she whispered. He's offering to come over and hold space for my trauma. Perfect, Bella whispered. Tell him yes. 20 minutes later, Derek arrived, looking even more serene than usual if that were possible. He held out a small pouch of what he called grief-releasing lavender blend. The universe has a plan, Maya, he intoned. Perhaps this is a lesson in non-attachment to material wealth. Oh, Derek, Maya sniffled theatrically. You're so wise. From their hiding spot in the kitchen, Leo, Bella, Sam, and Chloe watched on a laptop, which was streaming a live feed from a tiny camera hidden in a pot plant. Bella's plan was simple. Make Derek think the gnome was still missing and vulnerable, and see if he took the bait. For an hour, Derek sat with Maya, talking about chakras and cosmic realignment. He was the picture of supportive calm. The family began to wilt. Maybe Sam had been wrong. And then Derek's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Ah, my crystal supplier. I must take this. The energies are aligning for a new shipment. He went out into the hall. On the laptop screen, they saw him not making a phone call, but instead, moving with a sudden, predatory grace. He quickly and quietly slipped up the stairs towards Maya's studio. He's going for it, Sam whispered excitedly. They watched the feed from the hidden camera in the studio, another of Chloe's installations. Derek entered, looked around, and went straight to Maya's large, rainbow-colored laundry basket. He began frantically digging through the handmade jumpers and socks. He knew exactly where to look, Leo murmured. Sam, you were right. Derek's hands closed around something. He pulled out Sir Reginald, a triumphant grin splitting his usually placid face. It was a shockingly ugly expression. Hello, you little gold mine, he muttered. That was all the evidence they needed. Leo burst into the room, holding a fire poker like a sword. Stand back, you heathen! Unhand the gnome! Bella was right behind him with her phone, recording everything. Smile, Derek. You're on candid camera. Maya and Sam crowded in the doorway. And I thought my macrame was aggressively bohemian, Maya yelled. You're a fraud! Derek froze. Sir Reginald held aloft like a ceramic trophy. His face cycled through shock, anger, and finally, a resigned slump. You set me up. It was a collaborative installation, Sam said smugly. We called it entrapment of a gnome napper. The police were called. Derek was led away, still clutching his lavender pouch, trying to explain to the baffled officers that his arrest was a misalignment of his karmic flow. Sir Reginald was restored to his display case, none the worse for his adventure in the laundry basket. The Miller family, plus Chloe, collapsed in the library, exhausted but exhilarated. We did it, Maya said, beaming. We solved the mystery. We were brilliant. We were a mess, Leo corrected, but he was smiling. A glorious, chaotic, bumbling mess. But we did it together. So, Sam said, a hopeful glint in his eye. Now that Sir Reginald is safe and sound, about that startup capital. Leo and Bella exchanged a look. Sam, Bella said gently. The money is for all of us, to be agreed on, unanimously. And after all this, Leo added, putting an arm around Maya, I think we can all agree that the first thing we need is a proper security system, one that even I can't mess up. And, Maya said, a very large bottle of wine. My aura feels very spiky. They all laughed. The grand old clock in the hall wheezed its way to midnight, marking the end of the strangest, most suspenseful, and most family-filled night the Millers had ever had. They hadn't just found a thief and recovered a fortune. They'd found something far more valuable in the process: each other. And the knowledge that no matter what life or a conniving mindfulness guru threw at them, they could handle it. Together, even if they made a hilarious, dysfunctional mess of it along the way.